Okay, first thing, when you're drawing and you hit the P key, before you start drawing, before you even put any pen point on the canvas, make sure the property is on combine. Now, I'll draw and you can see how it's, oh, look over here in the work path, look at how it's a proper thing. Okay, now I'm going to delete it. Now, I'll do the same thing, but I'll put it on subtract. Now when I draw, it's going to be a subtract one. So in every single case, no matter what, for every single tool, before you start using that tool, or after you use it for a second and you realize something's wrong, stop what you're doing. In this case, you saw me throw away that path, right? And before you start doing something, make sure the default up here, in this case, is on combine, or it could even be on exclude. One of the two, it doesn't matter. So what you have to do is do what I said. Now, in order to change things, let me zoom out. I'm in the P key. I'm holding control, clicking on this one right here, on this path right here, and I'm going to marquee it with my holding my finger down on control. And now that I've done that, I'm going to change the property to combine. Now it's fine. Now I'll click to this one. And again, I'll marquee the shape. It's just this little shape you have over here, and I'll change it to combine. Now I'll click on this right dish part. Again, hold control and marquee. And I don't even see where that is. It's over on the other side. So let's go over here and let's hit combine. Okay, now I'm going to make sure it's on combine when I start drawing. Now what I really wanted to have done is to separate, you drew the whole object, okay? We should designate, let me click away from that. We should click, let me get close. I want to cut off the bottom half of this art from the top half, meaning the dome I don't think has anything to do with the dish as far as creating the artwork for it, okay? And it's just too hard to do together, so let me come across here. Now the reason I'm doing all of this is because I want to separate it, and I'm going to show you that the dish, or the dome, or I'm sorry, this upper glass part right here. So what I'm going to do right now, Deanna, is I'm going to click and just go around the bottom of this just like this. Okay, now you see how I'm just going to say that this is the bottom. Now to create a channel, let me put my channels up here where I can use them like you've been using them. I'm going to make a selection by control clicking the whole object. Then I'm going to go control alt subtract the bottom. Now I only have the dish itself, and you can see my selection is of the dish. So I'm going to say that this is under select and save selection. This is dome 1. Now, let's get close. Just like the phone, you remember when you painted the phone, how it had different lines of value working to the inside, or shapes? Look at how you have the outer one. You have this line here, you have this line here, and you have this line here. Well, let's use the capability of, let me zoom in a little bit. Let's use the capability of select, modify, contract, and see how many pixels it'll take me to go from here to here. And if I can see it's about, I don't know, I'm going to try 15 pixels first. Let me base my thing on that. So I'm going to go 15 pixels. I was just a little too much. It's probably 13 pixels. So let's go to select, modify, contract by 13 pixels. Now, that's perfect. Now, select, save selection as dome 2. Now, let's contract it for this inner line, this whitish highlight line. So let's go to select, modify, contract by 8 pixels or so. Yep. And let's go to select, save selection as dome 3. Now, let's do it for, even though it's not super apparent, you can tell this dark gray ends about right where my pen is, right? So let's go to select, modify, contract, and it's a little bit more than that. It's probably 10 pixels. And that was perfect. So let's go to select, modify, save selection as Dome 4. Now, because the flower is on the inside, realistically, of this dome, we want to make most of our art of the dome be transparent. Okay? Be transparent. So what we're going to do is forget the flower exists totally for now. Okay? So I'm not going to use this whole object layer that you have. We're going to make a couple of layers and start with, again, just like I named it, Dome 1. Let me just drag across this and hit Command or Control C. I'm sorry. I blew that one. Let's go here and say Dome. Okay, let's drag across and let's now put a 1 there. I'm making a mountain out of a molehill here. Let's go to layer 2 and put in Dome number 2. Let's put in layer 3 as Dome 3. And let's put in layer 4 that I'm just making now right there. Let's go Dome 4 and save your file. Now, as I back off on this and I look at your clicky copy, it's, let me hit Control D to deselect. I see that there's a darker gray, but there's also this gray right here, which we're going to just vignette around the whole dome. So even though I've told you, you have to kind of figure out what the object is all about here. But let me just finish what I'm saying. Since it's glass looking to the inside of a flower, I want to leave this almost as a ghosted, nothing on the inside element. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be fine. So I'm going to, just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to get this gray right here. See it right there? Okay. Now I'm going to click to Dome 1 and make a selection of my domes over here. So let's go to the channel palette and Control click that. And now all I have to do is turn off the clicky copy, click on Dome 1, Alt backspace. Okay. Now let's add a layer mask so we can remove the inside. Now I'm going to remove the inside by using this. Okay. This. So what I'm going to do is just use my white in my paintbrush, and I'm sorry. I want it to appear clear, so I'm going to use the black, right? And I'm going to use it on the layer mask, and look at how I'm making the inside. Whoops, sorry about that. Look at how I'm making the inside of this appear white, but really it's, and I don't want to use the word erasing, but I'm erasing the tone so that we can get to what we need to get to, which is a whitish look to this inside. I'm going to say transparent look to the inside, and I'm going to get a little bit tighter. I'm just going up and down. Look at the layer mask. I'm painting black on it. Okay, so if I make a mistake, I can't. It won't ruin anything. Let me get close to this and see. Okay, a little bit more across the top. Smaller brush, but not too much smaller. And let me come around this top like this. And come straight up and down. And now straight up and down. And now I pretty much kind of have it. Okay, now to show you what I'm doing here, I'm going to deselect. I'm going to make another layer just for giggles, and I'm going to put a shape in back of this. I'll just put a shape. I don't even know what I'm doing here. So let's just put a shape inside and color it like that red color. So let's just go to the shape inside just so I see what I'm doing, and I'm going to hit Alt backspace. Okay, so you can see, look at the layer palette now. Look at it. Look at how I have this gray right there, right? There's the gray. But this red is underneath the gray. It's only the black in the layer mask that's cutting through it. So let me go like this and disable it for a second. See that? That's opaque. This is transparent, and that'll work. So now the flower will show up even if it's in lower layers. You follow what I'm saying? Now, let's go to Dome 2 and let's look at the clicky copy. I'm going to put the clicky copy a little bit farther down so I don't have to keep on moving the layer palette. So now I want to get a little darker on the outside. So I'm going to get a little darker right here. So I'm going to hold the B key, Alt, and grab that color. Now, how do I paint this? Well, I click to Dome 2. I make a selection of Dome 1, right, and I subtract Dome 2 from it. Now, what is that going to do? It's going to let me paint this gray over here. So that's cool. That's wonderful. So now watch what I do here. I'm going to turn off the clicky copy. I want to make that, I want to make sense here. I'm going to put my channel palette down, but I want to make this little copy you have here bigger because I can't see it because I'm old and blind. So let's go Control H, and now look at how I can take this and paint the dark around the edge. So do you see how I'm approaching it? I put in the middle gray. I used a layer mask to help me cut the center of that gray out, and now I'm darkening it. Look at, see how I'm darkening that and see how pretty that is? Now, I want to get a little bit darker on this edge. So how would I do that? I mean, that's a little hard to even think about, and I want to do it on both sides. So we have to think for a second. So I want to get close and show you what I'm talking about. First, we're going to Gaussian blur this. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. Now, on this layer that I'm turning on and off, you can see it. Let's go Gaussian blur it. Now, let's go to about 2 pixels. Maybe even just 1 pixel. Yeah, 1 pixel is great. Now, I'm going to point to it, but I'm going to turn on the clicky copy. Do you see this darker value? Well, I have to have a way to do that. I have to have a way to get in there. So I'm going to have another selection. Okay, so watch over here. I have 4 of them in channels, right? Well, let's make a selection of Dome 1. Now, instead of shrinking this one using Select, Modify, Contract, instead of shrinking it to here, let's shrink it to the left side of this, okay, approximately. So let's go to Select, Modify, Contract. Now, you remember I went almost 15 pixels. Let's try 10 pixels. And that's just about right. That's perfect. So now let's save this selection. Forgot where it was. And let's go Dome. I'm thinking Dome 1 inside dark. Does that make sense? I think it does. Now let me save the file, and now let's make that happen. So now that I have it selected, and I'll do it again, I'll now make a selection of this one, correct, and subtract Dome 2 from it. So it's Control Alt Subtract. Now look at how I'm only painting between here and here. Now let's take the B key, hold Alt, and sample the color and make it just a little bit darker. So it's easier and quicker to paint. Now let's hit Control H. Okay, now I should have made that. I'm going to move this over because I don't need the path palette. This is getting in the way. Okay, I should have made this bigger. So what I'm going to do is save that selection so I don't have to do it again. And let me just say thin black. Okay, I now have that little selection saved. See it right there? See? There is the thin black. Okay, there it is. Now I'll just click up to a layer. So that's fine. Now, I'm going to deselect. Okay, click on your little picture right here. Hit Control T and make it bigger. Now, Whoops, I do this all the time. I shouldn't have held shift. Now what I want to do is cut out the white background. You don't need all this white around there. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to hit the return key, hit the M key for marquee, and make a marquee box around that little shape, which I have to fix because I didn't make it big enough on the left side. Okay, and let me hold the shift key and make this smaller. Okay, see how nicely now I have a marquee box around that. Okay, so all I have to do is hit Control J. Now look, I can throw this one away, the mini clicky. So I won't throw it away, and I'll even make it smaller again, just so you can see that I'm making it smaller, and I'll put it over here. So there's your mini clicky, but I'm going to use this one if I now can move it close to this edge. So see sometimes when I paint how I like to have the item close. Okay, now let's go to one layer above Dome 2. Look what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it thin black. Or dark. I meant dark, but that's okay. So I'm going to make a selection of my channel. Now I'm going to hit Control H. Remember, I already put the color in here, right, in the foreground color. I already did that. And I'm going to hit the B key, okay? And now look at how I can paint. Let me get close. Look at how I can paint that dark to be exactly what I want. Now, I need to kind of come around it like this. It's a little too harsh, which is okay. Let me turn off this mini one right here, and I'm going to put that one down here too, just so I can turn it off and on. So I'm going to turn it off and on just so I can see it. Okay, so now let's click to our thin black and continue painting over here. All right, now I need to look at it and make an assessment of what I'm doing. So I'll turn on your clicky copy. Okay, I need to Gaussian blur that now. All right, so let's deselect and Gaussian blur this by about 2 pixels. Yeah, that's pretty. Let's just go 2 pixels. Now I need to increase the black, and I'll zoom in and show you. I meant dark, not black. See how this bleeds over a little bit, and see how it gets darker as it works its way down? Okay, as it works its way down. So let's go back to this dome number 2 layer. I'm going to copy it, put another layer above dome 2, and I'm going to say dome 2 underscore, I don't know what to say, 2. I don't know. So I'm going to make a selection like I made in the first place. I'm going to Control click Dome 1, and I'm going to hold Control Alt and subtract Dome 2 and hit Control H. Now I'm only painting again between here and here. Okay, because you can see if I hit Control H where my selection is. Now let's take that same dark, turn off the clicky copy, hit Control H. Whoops, my finger hit something. And I'm going to hit Control H, there we go. And now I'm going to paint this dark like this. I'm just going to use it and bring up a little bit darker on this side and a little bit darker on this side. So you can see how I'm getting to the thing that I want. Now, let me turn on the clicky copy and click to Dome 3. What is Dome 3? It's this lighter value right here. So if I make a selection of Dome 2 and Control Alt subtract Dome 3, do you see how now I'm painting between here and here? Now, I'm going to hit the B key, I'm going to hold Alt and sample the color, then I'm going to get a lot lighter with it, like that. Now let's get close and let's look at the reference. Well, that happens kind of all the way around, but more on the left side. So let me hit Control H to hide it. Turn on the clicky again, and now look at how I can paint that. Am I painting on Dome 3? I'm asking myself, am I painting on Dome 3? The answer is yes. And now I'm actually making my glass look like glass. And that's what I want you to do. So I'm going to continue on, but you can tell that I'm doing a pretty good job, okay? Now, I probably should get, I'm just thinking as I'm looking, I probably should get a little bit whiter with this, or lighter is a better word here. So I'm going to turn on the clicky copy, and I'm going to show you that in dome number 4, right there, I'm going to shrink it a little bit and call it dome number 5. So I'm going to go to select. I'll show you why. Let's go to contract about 15 pixels. Yeah, that's good. And let's save it as dome number 5. Okay, now I'll just leave it selected because I'm going to make a new layer. I know I have dome 4 over here, but I'm going to make a dome number 5. Now, I don't want to paint white, okay? And I don't even know kind of why I made that layer, because as I'm thinking, this is what I want you to hear. I want to increase my layer mask on this layer right here, okay? I want to increase it, but I want to do it in a more controlled sense. So, this is what I'm going to do, okay? I need to take this line down farther. So I'm going to go to Select, Transform Selection, hold the Shift key, and bring that line down farther. Okay, now I should save it again. I should save that again. I don't pretty much need to, except when, and I want to explain something to you. I don't know if it'll be hard or not hard, but I don't want to paint. Let me turn. I don't want to paint on the layer mask. Let me show you a mistake. So I'm going to hit the B key. I'm showing you a mistake on purpose. Okay, so I'm going to paint in black, and I'm going to hit Control H. Now watch if I come down here. Do you see the hardness that I'm painting right there? Now that's what, and look at the layer mask. Look at how it got hard on both sides. That's not what I want, because I can't really Gaussian blur that totally. So I'm going to Control Z back. Now, how do you do this? Well, I'm going to go to Select, Modify, and I'm going to give that selection a feather. So let me cancel that because I want you to see it. There is your selection. I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Feather by about 30 pixels. 30 pixels. That's a lot, but it's pretty. And it's going to do a good job of giving the illusion of where that brightness on the center of that dome ends on both sides. So let me hit Control H. Let me click on the layer mask. Now look, when I paint, I'm not painting that hard line. Something happened right there. Look where I'm painting. I'm not painting that hard line. It's not coming out as a hard line. It's coming out more as a controlled. See, I'm painting right down here, and I'm painting down here on the mask, making it have a more controlled edge. So do you see how I'm doing that? And that was 30 pixels. That's perfect. I mean, I think that's really good. Okay, now let me hit Control S to save. Now, where would you go from here? Well, there are some smaller shapes that appear here. There's this white, lighter reflection. There's a few of these reflections which you could color range on there if you wanted, okay? But for the most part, I'm doing a pretty decent job of painting. Now, obviously, in the inside dish, okay, that would be painted down here. So if I were to start painting that inside dish, the layer would appear below. Let me throw this red thing away. The layer would appear below. Let me throw your white one away. So now here's my gray, here's my dome number 1. I need to make a layer below it for the dish. Okay, so I'm going to say dish 1. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I just want to give you an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to go down to this. Look, I have, I need to make a path of this. Now I could use my shapes. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to properly do that. Watch how easy this can be. So I'm going to go over to the shape menu right there. That's the frame tool. I don't even know where it is because, oh, there it is. It's right there, and you can see how I'm using the ellipse tool. Okay, so I'm going to use it. But I'm going to make sure it doesn't say shape, it says path. Do you follow that? Now, if I hold the Alt key, and I hold it down, and I start drawing, look at how I'm going to draw that path from the center out, meaning it was kind of easy to make that path. Now, what I want to do to that, and there it is right there, I'll call it dish 1. What I want to do is I want to now use the transform tool, okay, to fix it. So I'm going to hold the shift key and I'm going to make it fix here. I'm going to make it fix here. I'm going to make it fix on this side. And now I have that dish. The ellipse for the dish is kind of proper. I don't know why that shouldn't be doing that. I should be okay, there we go. And there's my first dish path. Now, I'm going to make a selection of it. I'm now going to go into the B key and grab this first color. So let's go over here in the B key and grab this first gray and make it just a little bit darker. Now, let me zoom out, turn off the clicky copy, and now watch how I paint this. Now let me turn on my other one right here so you can see it. See that line that I want to put in here, the start of this dish? Okay, if I hit Control H to hide the selection, am I on the right layer? Yes. Look at how I can take my brush and I can start painting the back of that dish. Do you see how I'm starting to paint the back of the dish? Now I can even paint some of these stripes that are in here. See that? I can come up like this. I can come over like this. And then you can tell that I can now start to make different things from, what do I mean by that? I can make different paths from this. How do I do that? Well, Brian, it's the same way you do it every time. It's select, modify, contract by about 5 or 6 pixels. Okay, that's good. Now save that as dish 2. Now do it again. Select, modify, contract, have about 4 pixels. Okay, now save that. Dish 3. Now let me make another layer and let me call it dish number 2. Okay, now let's get close and talk about this. So I'm going to turn on your clicky copy. See how if I move over here, see how this dark gray right here has a little bit of a light line, then a dark line? Well, let's try to make that happen. Let's try to do it. Okay, so I'm going to make a selection of, let me come down here. Here's my dish number 2. Let me see where it is. Okay, and now I'm going to subtract dish number 3 from it. Now that's where I'm going to put in the light line. So I'm going to grab this color right there, hit Control H, click on my dish 2 layer, and look at how I can put in that light line right there. Now that's not too tough. It's the same thing that you did. Look at how pretty that is. It's the same thing that you did on the phone and on other things. But you see how I'm starting to make that whole thing happen. Let me turn off this, and now you can start to see the process. Okay? So I just want you to review this movie a couple of times, and then don't be, just take one step at a time and paint it. But you can see how I thought my way through, and I'll just go ahead and say it. Look at Dome 1, Dome 2, Dome 3, Dome 4, and then I can subtract one from the other, or this one from this one. I'll click over here just so it comes back. And then I did the same thing on the dishes. I have a dish, a bigger dish. Let me zoom in. I have a bigger dish. Look, there's the selection. A smaller dish and an even smaller dish. And all I did was draw one of them, right? Okay, so go that far and see how you feel after that, okay?